Hello everybody, sorry for the late videos. You can imagine it's been very busy and with school holidays it's been hard for me to get online and do any filming. I have a really bad cough, so excuse me if I have to take sips of a drink. I'm really throaty. So this is my monthly book haul. This is all the books I got in December. This does include some Christmas books, but generally it's just a lot of books. I've left one up here and I'll just show you that one first. So, it wasn't the first book I got, but I did get Marilyn, and this is by Alejandro Mogolo. He is a Spanish artist, and this is a compilation of his drawings of Marilyn, and I can't find one now, it's all just quotes, along with some quotes by famous people or by her. You can buy his designs on everything from mugs to t-shirts on Redbubble. Absolutely stunning work. He also does other people as well. Let me just have a look. So I'll show you his June Harlow ones. I love his June Harlow ones. He hasn't got any of his Judys in here. Here's a snapshot of all the other bombshells, but he does a lot of Judy. I really love the Judy books. The idea with this book is you have to order it off of Spain, Amazon Spain, which is where I got mine from, and I'm glad I did. But it was a bit pricey, obviously coming from Spain, but it's a beautiful little hardback book. I'm so happy to add this to my Marilyn collection. On to the rest of the books. I got, most of these are from charity shops. In fact, all of them are from charity shops, except for the ones I had for Christmas. So they were all between 25 pence, maybe £1.50. I think this one was £1.50, I'm not sure, yeah. And this is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. When Rowan comes across the advert, it seems too good to be true. A living nanny position with an extremely generous salary. What she doesn't know that she's stepping into a nightmare, one that will end with a child dead and her in a cell waiting a trial for murder. She knows she's made mistakes, but she's not guilty, at least not of murder, which means someone else is. What I understand, this is a retelling of Henry James's Turn of the Screw. Don't know how true that is, but we will find out obviously when I get to it. Then I've got this one, Paul spotted this one again, it was £1.50. It was actually in the non-fiction section, but it is fiction. It's fiction based on fact, so you could call it faction. And this is Mayhem by Sarah Pinborough. I'll be reading this one soon because this is a subject I absolutely am invested in. It's 1888, in the smoggy back streets of dangerous London, Jack the Ripper is at work. But his shadow is long, and in the deeper darkness another killer watches, one with a more sinister origin. Dr. Thomas Bond is the man assigned to investigate the case, and he becomes ever more embroiled in London's seedy opium dens. He starts to wonder, is it a man that has brought mayhem to the streets of London, or a monster? So, Jack the Ripper base. I love anything to do with Jack the Ripper, fiction or non-fiction. I have a little collection going. So yeah. And then I got this Spells Love. I've seen this on TikTok a few times. Whoever had a breakup so bad you wish the whole relationship had never happened? Haven't we all? Well, Gemma's wishes come true. After one too many margaritas lead her to her mystical aunt reading out a drunken spell, she wakes up in a parallel world where she didn't give years of her life to the wrong man. But you know what they say, be careful what you wish for, because not only is her boring ex out of the picture, but her extremely attractive male best friend also has no idea who she is. And in this world, Gemma and Dax don't have years of friendship history keeping them from becoming something more. There we go. Then I've got The Magnificent Mrs. Mayhew by Millie Johnson. Sophie Mayhew looks like she has a perfect life, wife of rising political star John F. Mayhew. Her glamour matches his looks, power, breeding and money, but all is not as it seems on the surface, and Sophie's had enough. So, stepping out of his shadow and taking time away to think, she finds herself part of a community that warms her soul and makes her feel as if she's breathing properly for the first time. And now she must decide, where does her future lie? I like Millie Johnson, so that's another one. And then I've got one called Love Story by Lindsay Kelk, not the Eric Siegel one. She's a small-town school teacher. He's a hotshot creative director. Together it's hate at first sight, so obviously it's enemies to lovers trope. Sophie Taylor has a secret, and Joe Walsh is the last person she'd tell. He's devilishly handsome, incredibly hot, and too sure of himself. But Sophie desperately needs his help because she's not just hiding something small. She is Esty Cox, the mysterious romance author the entire world desperate to unmask. When a trip to the countryside means sharing a cottage with only one bed, it's a short step to sharing a whole lot more besides. Can Sophie trust Joe with the truth and be herself? That sounds quite good, actually. And then I've got Jasmine Glory Drunk on Love. Again, this was bought from the charity shop. Originally came from the works on 3 for £6. I haven't bought anything brand new from the works for ages. Not for me, anyway. Margot Noble needs some relief from the stress of running her family winery. Enter Luke, sexy, charming, and best of all in the too small world of Napa, a stranger promising to be the perfect one-night stand she'll never have to see again. That is until Luke walks in the next morning as their newest hire, and with the attraction still bubbling between them, Margot is finding it a challenge to keep things purely professional. Luke Williams had it all, but when burnout causes him to quit his high-salary tech job in Silicon Valley and move back to Napa, he doesn't want to tell the world, or his mom, who loves bragging about her successful son, why he's now working at a winery. The only thing Luke knows for certain is that he wants more with his smart and sexy new boss, but even if they can find a way to be together, that wouldn't be an ethical nightmare. Would such a successful woman really want a tech world dropout? Well, why wouldn't she? She's a human being like everybody else. This is one of the ones my mum had. Remember Me by Leslie Pierce. These are nice every now and again for just to, you know. So Mary, a Cornish mariner's daughter, makes the biggest mistake of her short life when she steals a silk hat. Convicted and sentenced to be transported to Australia, she endures horrific conditions aboard ship before landing in a brutal and barbaric country. It will take all her courage just to survive. But Mary is also determined to make something of herself in this rugged man's world, and she dreams that one day she will find a way of crossing the cruel seas that lie between her and her home. This is based on a true story. Yeah, that'll be fun. Then I've got The Last Days of Rabbit Haze by Anna Partland. Now, this sounds like quite a sad one. Again, it looks like it hasn't even been read, or maybe once, and somebody was very careful with it. Here is a truth that can't be escaped. For Mia Rabbit Haze, life is coming to an end. Rabbit Haze loves her life, ordinary it is, and the extraordinary people in it. She loves her spirited daughter, Juliet, her colourful, unruly family, the only man in her big heart, Johnny Fay. But it turns out the world has other plans for Rabbit, and she's okay with that, because she has plans for the world too, and only a handful of days to make them happen. Here's a truth that won't be forgotten. This story is about laughing through life's surprises and finding the joy in every moment. I think it'll be quite sad, but also quite interesting. Adele Parks, I invited her in. Imagine the worst thing a friend could ever do. This is worse. When Mel receives an unexpected email from her oldest friend Abby, it brings back memories that she thought she had buried forever. Their friendship belonged in the past, to those carefree days at university. But Abby is in trouble and needs Mel's help, and she wants a place to stay, just for a few days, while she sorts things out. It's the least Mel can do. After all, friends look out for each other, don't they? Ooh. Then we've got Take Mum Out, Fiona Gibson. Tagline on this: why do you need a boyfriend? You're a mum. I wonder. 3 blind dates, 2 teenage boys messing up her plans, and 1 man who'll melt Alice's heart. You need to get back in the saddle. Ugh. Alice despises that phrase. She's fine being single with 2 lazy teenage boys and a meringue business to run. She has enough on her plate without negotiating the troublesome world of modern dating. However, Alice's 3 best friends have other ideas. Each one will present her with a gorgeous single man, and all Alice has to do is pick her favourite. So, nice easy read. That won't take me long. I've got a really short one here. It's Michael Morpurgo who wrote All Horse, and this is The Butterfly Lion. Bertie rescues an orphaned white lion cub from the African veld. They're inseparable until Bertie is sent to boarding school far away in England, and the lion is sold to a circus. Bertie swears that one day they will see each other again, but the butterfly lion ensures that their friendship will never be forgotten. I just like the sound of that. It's not very long. That's a good one for tackling if you're getting behind on your challenge for the year. If you've got a challenge, obviously I have, and I'll do that at the end. We'll talk about that at the end. Ian Rankin in A House of Lies. I used to love Ian Rankin. Haven't read him for a few years, so why not? Private investigator Stuart Bloom was missing, presumed dead, until now. His body is discovered in an abandoned car in an area that had already been searched. Detective Inspector Siobhan Clark combs through the mistakes of the original investigation. After a decade without answers, it's time for the truth. But it seems everyone involved in the case is hiding something. None more so than Siobhan's own mentor, former detective John Rebus, the only man who knows where the trail may lead, and that could be the end of him. Everyone has secrets. Nobody is innocent in a house of lies. So that sounds really good. I used to love reading the Rebus ones. Then I've got Lee Child, The Midnight Line. This is a hardback again. Got it from a charity shop or somewhere. Didn't know until last month Lee Child is actually British. You learn something new every day. It's because I read the back flap of one of the books. So on this one it says, a bad day for someone. Jack Reacher takes an aimless stroll past a pawn shop in a small Midwestern town. In the window he sees a West Point class ring from 2005. It's tiny. It's a woman's cadet's graduation present to herself. Why would she give it up? Reacher's a West Pointer too, and he knows what she went through to get it. Reacher tracks the ring back to its owner step by step down a criminal trail leading west. Like Bigfoot come out of the forest, he arrives in the deserted wilds of Wyoming. All he wants is to find the woman. If she's okay, he'll walk away. If she's not, he'll stop at nothing. He's still shaken by the recent horrors of Make Me, and now the Midnight Line sees him set on a raw and elemental quest for simple justice. Best advice, don't get in his way. It's like those questions they ask, if you were kidnapped by somebody, who would you want to come and rescue you? I would want Jack Reacher. I've got a little one here, Agatha and Raisin. There Goes the Bride by M.C. Beaton. These are lovely little cosy mysteries. It's a case of match and dispatch for Agatha. A lesson welcome invitation to ex-husband James's wedding to a beautiful younger woman lands on Agatha's doormat. But it's one wedding and a funeral when the bride is murdered on her big day. Prime suspect Agatha finds her world turned upside down, and not just because the bride's mother wants to take on the case of her murdered daughter. Agatha has also fallen head over heels with a sexy Frenchman nonetheless. She's dependently on hand to catch the killer and untangle her own love life. I love these, they're so fun. Another Leslie Pierce one here. This is Betrayal. Someone knows the truth. Do they? Eve should never have married Don Hathaway. The man is a bully, but after one drunken rage too many, Eve takes their children and leaves him. Don, however, is bitter, and getting away from him entirely proves impossible, until the day Eve decides to teach Don a lesson, and it all goes hideously wrong, and this poor mother fears she's lost everything. Eve loves her children so much, but now she bears a terrible burden she cannot ever share, and she knows it won't be long before the past catches up with her. Eve desperately wants to hide from the truth, but is she risking everything? Does she kill him by the sound of it? And something like that. By accident, I mean. Then we got the Yorkshire Pudding Club. Again, this is Millie Johnson. Again, charity shop does not look red at all. But it probably has been sitting on somebody's TBR and they decided to get rid of it. I don't do that. I keep my TBR till I've read them or DNF'd them. Then I get rid of them. When three South Yorkshire friends picnic on top of an ancient fertility symbol, who could have known that within 4 months they would all have their own eggs fertilised themselves? For Helen, pregnancy is a dream come true, but the more the baby grows inside her, the more she can see her outwardly perfect marriage crumbling before her eyes. For career woman Janie, it's a nightmare. How could it have happened? She and her husband George, ecstatic at the prospect of being a dad, were always so careful over contraception. And the emotionally lost Elizabeth is not only carrying a child she feels she will never love, but she must also deal with the return of a man whose love she can never have. Sounds good. That's another silly little romancy thing there. And yeah, there's a lot. I'll tell you all about it in a minute. So Sunny stays at Shetland Hotel. We just have a sip of cola. Oh, that's nice. Pippa has long felt like the odd one out in her family. Taking a job driving a mobile bakery van around Shetland's village gives her a sense of freedom and purpose, but also makes her realise how much she wants to belong. Natalia has recently returned to Lerwick, hoping to reconnect with an old flame, but she's engulfed by loss and rejection when she hears he's moved on and Natalia's world is turned upside down. Autumn is dedicated to her job in hospitality and relishes her role as general manager of Lerwick Manor's new hotel. No guest request is too big or too small, but her own unrelentingly high standards could help push Autumn to her limits. Will the beauty of Shetland help these three women find the friendship, support and healing that they all need? And we're still going. I still got a big sack. We're getting closer to the Christmas books though. Not yet. Lucy Dillon, All I Ever Wanted. Caitlin's life is a mess. Her marriage to a man everyone else thinks is perfect has collapsed, along with her self-esteem, and breaking free seems to be the only option. Nancy, her 4-year-old daughter, used to talk all the time, in the car, at nursery, to her brother Joel. Then her parents split up, her daddy moves out, and Nancy stops speaking. Nancy's Auntie Eva, recently widowed and feeling alone apart from the companionship of 2 bewildered pugs, is facing a future without her husband or the dreams she gave up for him. But when Eva agrees to host her niece and nephew once a fortnight, Caitlin and Eva are made to face the different truths about their marriages and what they really want. Aww. Then we got one of these historical fiction, Wartime Wishes at Bletchley Park. I saw somebody in the works on TikTok going, who reads these? Well, my mum does. And she loves them, and then I read them, and they're okay. They're not that spicy. Sometimes they have a bit in them, but they're also not full of fantasy. All these fantasy people and saying that there's only one right thing to read. There are people who love these books. If they didn't, they wouldn't be published. So don't go around saying who reads this stuff. I'll tell you now, my 80-year-old mother does. She's 81 next year. No, not next year, next month. And she loves these books, and she's read this one, and now I've got it. Yeah, these books get a good going around, and then it'll go off to somebody else. Munich, September 1938. When 21-year-old Madeline Hamilton is asked to smuggle her 2 young pupils to Berlin, she nervously agrees. But when they run into trouble on the train, it is Maddie's turn to be saved by a chance encounter with a handsome man. It's always a handsome man, isn't it? Bletchley Park, September 1939. A year later, Maddie is undertaking training in Morse code when a familiar face shows up unexpectedly. The attraction between them is as deep as it is instant, but Maddie knows one person holds the potential to harm her country and her heart, and it's her duty to defend both. So yes, sounds alright. With Bletchley Park as a background, that's going to be quite interesting. Cathy Bramley, My Kind of Happy. I do like Cathy Bramley. Flowers have always made Fern smile. She treasures the memories of her beloved grandmother's floristry and helping her to arrange beautiful blooms that brought such joy to their recipients. But ever since the family tragedy a year ago, Fern has been searching for her own contentment. When Fern makes a chance discovery, she decides to start a happiness wish list, and an exciting new seed of hope is planted. As Fern steps out of her comfort zone and into the unknown, she starts to remember that happiness is a life lived in full bloom, because isn't there always a chance your wishes might come true? There you go. Next one is another Cathy Bramley. There seems to be a lot of Cathy Bramleys around. And this is The Summer That Changed Us. 3 women, 3 secrets, 1 unforgettable summer. I just not light. It's okay though. The sparkling seaside village of Merle Bay, with its beautiful beach scattered with sea glass, is a place where anyone can have a fresh start. For Katie, it's a perfect hideout after a childhood trauma left her feeling exposed. For Robin, the fresh sea air is helping to heal her scars, but maybe not her marriage. For Grace, a new start would help her move on from heartbreaking loss. When they meet on Sea Glass Beach, one day they form an instant bond, and soon they're sharing Prosecco, laughter, and even their biggest secrets. Together the women feel stronger than ever before, so can their friendship help them face old fears and find happy endings as well as new beginnings? Nice. Set on You by Amy Lee, or Leah. Curvy fitness influencer Crystal Chen built her career on shattering gym stereotypes. After a recent breakup, she has little time left for men, instead of finding joy in the gym, her place of power and positivity. Enter firefighter Scott Ritchie, the smug new gym patron who routinely steals her favourite squat rack. Soon sparks start flying. The ultra-competitive foes battle for gym domination. The last thing they expect is to run into each other at their grandparents' engagement party. And in the lead up to the wedding, Crystal discovers there's soft heart under Scott's muscled exterior. Isn't there always? Bonding over family fitness and cheesy pickup lines, she might just have found her person. But when a photo of them goes viral, savage internet trolls put their relationship to the test. Are they strong enough to get through it? That's the problem with the internet. You've got to be careful with it. And then we've got the Dubrovnik Book Club. I like anything with book and club in the title, or just with book in the title. In a tiny bookshop in Dubrovnik's historic old town, a book club begins. Newly arrived on the sun-drenched shores of Croatia, Claire Thompson's life is about to change forever when she starts working at a local bookshop. With her cousin Vedran, employer Luna and Camelia, a professor, they form an unlikely book club. But when their first book club pick, an engrossing, cosy crime inspires them to embark about investigation that is close to the group's heart, they quickly learn the value of keeping their newfound friends close as lives and stories begin to entwine. Yeah, that sounds like fun. One for next Christmas. I've already started picking up Christmas books for next year. This is a nice... Again, doesn't look like it's been read. Look at that spine. It's perfect. It's very thin though. This is Daisy's Christmas Gift Shop by Hannah Pearl. That'll be a nice short one to round out December of 2025 when we finally get there. Daisy Kirk is a sucker for a love story, which is why she opened up her gift shop, because there's nothing that makes Daisy happier than when she's helped a customer achieve their own happily ever after by finding the perfect Christmas gift for their loved one. And she absolutely does not just sell soppy presents and frilly pants, as her brother's infuriating best friend Eli is so fond of suggesting romance. The sad fact is that whilst Daisy is helping others with their love lives, hers is non-existent. But when unusual circumstances take Daisy and Eli on a road trip from London to rural Wales, will she finally get the happily ever after to her own Christmas love story? Told you. Next one is Blindside. This is James Patterson and James O'Bourne. So the Mayor of New York has a daughter who's missing. Detective Michael Bennett has a son who's in prison. Can one father help the other? Bennett and the Mayor have always had a tense relationship, but now the Mayor sees in Bennett an exceptional investigator who might be willing to take on a case that needs to be kept under the radar. The two men strike a deal. Excuse me a minute. Sources lead Bennett to a homicide in the Bronx. The victim has ties to a sophisticated hacking operation and also to the mayor's missing daughter. But this murder is part of a serial killing spree, one with national security implications, and suddenly Bennett is at the centre of a dangerous triangle anchored by the NYPD, FBI and an international crime organisation. Michael Bennett has always been an honourable man, but sometimes honour has to take a back seat. Survival comes first. One more before the Christmas books. We got Black Notice by Patricia Cornwall. This is obviously a Scarpetta novel. I pick them up when I can. I've read quite a few. Haven't read this one. This is one of those dinky book club editions. Yeah, Book Club of America, or BCA, or whatever it's called. I don't know. Scarpetta is a passionate moral crusader, a force for good in a sea of evil. Daily Mail. Never trust anything the Daily Mail says. Maybe their book section's not so bad. While Lucy Fernelli goes undercover in Miami to bring down a notorious criminal cartel, Dr. Kay Scarpetta and Pete Marino discover a body in a cargo ship recently arrived from Belgium at Virginia's Deepwater Terminal in Richmond. Initially, it seems as though it may be the decomposed remains of a stowaway, but Scarpetta's post-mortem reveals another cause of death. Neither a cause of death or an identification. So the victim's personal effects and an odd tattoo takes Scarpetta onto a hunt for information that eventually leads her and Marino to Interpol's headquarters in Lyon. At first, the highly confidential information they receive seems incredible, a bizarre trail of conspiracy and deceit, but inexorably the facts reveal a web of privilege and criminal arrogance which puts Kay Scarpetta directly in harm's way and places her and those she holds dear at mortal risk. Doesn't that happen in every Scarpetta book? On to the Christmas books, yay! I'm excited about all these books, by the way. Not just the Christmas books, I just love books. So, first of all, I have the new Richard Osman, We Solve Murders. A new detective duo, a shocking series of murders. Welcome to a world of trouble. So let's read it. Solving murders, it's a family business. Steve Wheeler likes retired life. He still does some investigation work, but he prefers his familiar habits. The pub quiz, a favourite bench, his cat awaiting for him at home. His days of adventure are over. Adrenaline is his daughter-in-law's Amy's jobs now. Amy Wheeler thinks adrenaline is good for the soul. Working in private security every day is dangerous. She's currently on a remote island, protecting infamous author Rosie D'Antonio, until a dead body and a bag of money mean trouble in paradise. As a thrilling race around the world begins, can Amy and Steve outrun and outsmart a killer? There you go. I love Richard Osman. I think he's just so clever. He is clever, very clever. Two more hardbacks, and I got They Thought I Was Dead, Peter James, Sandy's Story. So this is part of the Roy Grace series. Some will know how it begins. Her name is Sandy. You might know her as the loving wife of Detective Superintendent Roy Grace. But there's more to her than meets the eye. A woman with a dubious past, a complicated present and an uncertain future. And then she was gone. Some will think they know how it ends. Her disappearance caused a nationwide search. Even the best detective on the force couldn't find her. They thought she was dead. But nobody knows this. Where did she go? Why did she run? What would cause a woman to leave her whole life behind and simply vanish? I can't wait to read this one. It's going to be one of my next reads. I'm reading another book, which I'll show you in a minute, that I got for Christmas. But yeah, I can't wait to read that. And once I've read that one, the next one is Peter James's One of Us is Dead, which is another Roy Grace. I just love these books. Hunting a dead man can be murder. When James Taylor arrives late for a funeral, he has to stand at the back of a small church. As the service progresses, he notices a man seated 6 rows in front of him. At first, Taylor thinks he must be mistaken. But the more he looks at the man, the more convinced he becomes that this is his old school friend Rufus Rourke. Except it couldn't be him, could it? Because 2 years ago, Taylor attended Rufus Rourke's funeral. He even delivered the eulogy. On the other side of Brighton, at Police HQ, Detective Superintendent Roy Grace has been alerted to a number of suspicious deaths he can't get out of his mind. But how are they linked, and how could they possibly be connected to Rufus Rourke? And Roy Grace is about to find out just how dangerous a dead man can be. Ooh, I think these are great. They've always got dead in the title of the Grace series, which I think is really clever, but one day he's going to run out of permutations of dead. Like, so for instance, dead simple, looking good, dead, not dead enough, dead man's footsteps, dead tomorrow, dead like you, dead man's grip, not dead yet, dead man's time, want you dead, you are dead, love you dead, need you dead, dead if you don't, dead at first sight, find them dead, left you dead, picture you dead, stop them dead. They thought I was dead. Any more deads we can get in there? But still, I love them. And he's really great on TikTok. He's on TikTok, and if you comment, he will respond. He's really nice. And last thing was from my brother, and it is the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. So, yes, I'm looking forward to this. Well, I started reading the first one, book 1, and they're very hard to actually get out of the box. So you're going to see me struggle while I try and get it out again. There we go. There we go. Right, there they are. I won't put Mistborn back in because I am actually on page 128 of it. I have started it. So Mistborn Volume 1 is also known as The Final Empire, but it is just called Mistborn. For 1,000 years the ash fell. For 1,000 years the scar slaved in misery and lived in fear. For 1,000 years the Lord Ruler reigned with absolute power and ultimate terror, divinely invincible. Every attempted revolt has failed miserably, yet somehow hope survives. A new kind of uprising is being planned, one that depends on the cunning of a brilliant criminal mastermind and the courage of an unlikely heroine, a Scar street urchin who must learn to master allomancy, the power of a Mistborn. What if the prophesied hero had failed to delete the Dark Lord? The answers will be found in the Mistborn trilogy, a saga of surprises that begins here. And it is part of the Cosmere. This is where I'm starting. And then book 2 is The Well of Ascension. These are great. As somebody pointed out, they do have book 1 and book 2 and book 3 written on them, so you know what order to read them in. That's always handy with a series. If only other people, and it even says it on the spine, up here, Mistborn book 2. Evil has been defeated. The war has just begun. They did the impossible, so I know what happens at the end of the first one now, deposing the godlike being whose brutal rule has lasted 1,000 years. Now Vin, the street urchin who has grown into the most powerful Mistborn in the land, and Elend Venture, the idealistic young nobleman who loves her, must build a healthy new society in the ashes of an empire. They have barely begun when 3 separate armies attack as the siege tightens and ancient legend seems to offer a glimmer of hope. But even if it really exists, no one knows where to find the Well of Ascension or what man of power it bestows. It may be that killing the Lord Ruler was the easy part. Oh, so good. Yes, I am really going to be getting into my Brandon Sanderson journey in 2025 with these 3. Obviously, I've read Elantris, which adored, but yes, there will be more Brandon Sanderson being added to the collection, I'm pretty sure, this year, even if it's just from my brother for my birthday. And then we have book 3, which is The Hero of Ages. Who is the hero of ages? To end the final empire and restore freedom, Vin killed the Lord Ruler. Apologies, it got to 30 minutes and stopped. Vin killed the Lord Ruler, but as a result, the deepness, the lethal form of ubiquitous mists is back. Along with increasingly heavy ashfalls and ever more powerful earthquakes, humanity appears to be doomed. Having escaped death only by becoming a Mistborn himself, the Emperor Elend Venture hopes to find clues left behind by the Lord Ruler that will allow him to save the world. Meanwhile, Vin is consumed with guilt at accidentally releasing the mystic force known as Ruin from the well. The conclusion of the Mistborn trilogy fulfills all the promises of the first 2 books, and in a finale and unmatched for originality and audacity. I am so looking forward to getting through this series. Like I said, I am reading Mistborn book 1 at the moment, and it is very good. But it's Brandon Sanderson. They're not short books, and they get bigger. The man has more verbal diarrhea than Stephen King, and that's saying something. Anyway, for those of you who are interested in challenges, I now have my Goodreads challenge up at 200. That is how I'm hoping to read for the whole of 2025, or actually I'm hoping to exceed that quite significantly. I've also set it up on Storygraph as well, so I'm sort of tracking on both of those sites. Obviously I'm over on TikTok. I will be doing reviews when I can. However, that's it. With regards to buying books, I am going to try not to buy as many, simply because my physical TBR has 560 plus on it. Never mention my Kindle TBR, my audiobook TBR. So the idea is to try and get the physicals, audiobooks and the Kindle down a bit by reading a mixture of all of them throughout the whole of 2025. There will be books added to the collection. Andrew Cartmell's got 2 coming out this year. Jodie Taylor's got some coming out. There's some more Marilyn books for the Marilyn collection, so there will be hauls, but probably not as many. I'll probably go kind of like the, what's it called? The colouring hauls. I'm going to try and do them every month, and while I do every other month, and I'll try and do the book hauls on the opposite month from the colouring haul, so it gives you a bit of a mix up on the hauls. So anyway, those are all the books I got in December. I've got some serious reading to get done this year. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I will be making a channel update video very shortly about what's going to be going on with the channel in 2025. I hope you'll join me for that one. I'll see you soon. Bye guys.